Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Stop Blaming Everything on Bats. I'm your host, Dee McBee, and today I'll be explaining to you how there is no scientific link between the current coronavirus outbreak in China and bats. After you watch these educational clips, make sure you tag your friends and family. We want to help spread the truth instead of falling back into the historical pattern of blaming bats and assuming that they are evil, because that leads to bad things for them, and when we lose our bats, we lose our ecosystem. Stay with me, people. Save the bats! Save the bats! Media speculation during an outbreak is always bad because then people waste time and resources going off of all these little random leads being thrown at them, and then they don't find effective treatment as fast as possible and save more lives. For instance, this seems to be coming out of the Wuhan province in China, but of the first 40 people who were infected, only 13 had been to that wet market. It's called a wet market because live and dead wildlife are brought together and kept together, which is unhygienic no matter what animal it is. So that might not even be the source of the jump. Some people are saying, oh, it came from this wet market, and that wet market had bats. See, it has to be bats. Well, if that's not where it occurred, then bats aren't involved at all. And even if it is, it could have been any of the animals kept in unhygienic conditions. If you and I spend time together and we don't shower for a month, we'll get sick. So being a coronavirus, COVID-19, as it is now called, was thought to perhaps be related to the SARS coronavirus that came out back in 2002, also in China. And that was found in ferret badgers, ferret badgers, civets, raccoon dogs, and cats. And due to the phylogeny of the virus, people thought that, sure, look at this sort of is similar to other things found in bats. It could come from bats. But then it was shown that it jumped from civets to humans. So you would want to limit your exposure to civets, not bats. And even then, it's not the civets' fault. You don't want to go and kill civets wholesale because you've encroached on their territory, or you kept them in a wet market with other wildlife and just made it a perfect environment for viruses to jump species. I mean, I'm not a vegetarian or anything, but that is a very unhygienic setup. Now, the main service protein of this new coronavirus was compared and found not to be identical to SARS. In fact, it's only 70% like SARS, so not the same thing, and another reason why you shouldn't be immediately pointing to bats. Virologists were quoted as saying, oh no, it'll be bats. And then things pointed to snakes, and they were like, well, the snakes were infected by bats. You'll see. And it just sort of has gone from there. It's been snakes, chickens, I think they're on pangolins now. Anyhow, as technology has come along, virologists search for viruses everywhere in places they couldn't before, and bat populations are exotic and sort of cut off, so they're great places to find things, and they disproportionately look for them there. But the human body is full of all sorts of identified viruses. But I guess bats are easy to capture, and headlines with bat scares are total clickbait. Bats pass on so many things. Okay, I'm not trying to throw other animal groups under the bus here, but the major health scares throughout history have come from birds, rodents, and other primates. Bats have been alongside us the whole time. We lived in caves together. When we started making huts, they lived in the thatched roofs. They still live in the rafters of our wooden homes. They've been there the whole time. Hasn't been a problem. In fact, there's people who make their living collecting bat guano and don't even wear protective equipment. They've done it for generations. Bats are not a problem, peeps. Ebola hasn't been verified in bats. It's another thing people point to as evidence of them spreading stuff. When I say not verified, I mean they haven't been shown to be a source. They've contracted it, which is part of why Luby does research with the U.S. Army and our African straw-colored bats to see if we can develop a vaccine for humans. Now, if bats were responsible for the things people have been accusing them for in the past few years, the big things like Ebola, SARS, MERS, and this current coronavirus, that'd be 15,000 deaths a year, which is not something to scoff at, but by comparison, dog-source rabies from your own canine pet at home, that's 59,000 deaths a year. The flu season in America, a first world country, 8,000 deaths per season, not per year, per flu season. Deaths tend to get exaggerated, by which I mean they might report the correct number, but they'll use it completely out of context. They'll include people who were already immunocompromised, already sick, perhaps elderly, people who would have died the very next day from the common flu. I am awake because I remembered to add one more thing. The reason why I'm saying all of this isn't just because we need to stop all the fear-mongering. It isn't just because I'm biased in my love of bats. It's because whenever things like this happen and misinformation gets spread, a lot of times cullings happen. And if people think bats are to blame, they will wholesale kill bats. And when that happens, no one wins. No bats, no trees. No trees, no koalas, or orangutans, or lumber, or homes for any other animal that gives us any everything. So please, spread the word. Don't hate bats. They didn't start the coronavirus outbreak. There's a good chance they are in no way involved. They just happen to be bats present at that wet market.